人に心なんてないんだよ。人の心に呪われたっていうのか。もう何が正しくて何が間違っているのかも。
Yoshino Junpei, the unrealized jujutsu sorcerer. Junpei was a character introduced to us early on in the series, and was teased very heavily in the first opening of the anime as a potential student in Tokyo Jujutsu High. We all know how that turned out, and frankly, I don't want to cry again, so we're not getting into that in this video. Instead, I'll be talking about how strong Junpei could have been by comparing him to similar characters that have been introduced throughout the series. And at the end of the video, I'll be predicting what his Jujutsu ranking would be based on these comparisons. Bear in mind that this video will contain spoilers from the manga, but without further ado, let's get into the video. So for those of you that think Junpei couldn't have become a sorcerer because Mahito quote-unquote gave him that power, well, you're wrong, as even Mahito himself was impressed at the fact that Junpei was able to see him when he was transfiguring those dudes in the movie theater. It's safe to say that seeing curses should be the bare minimum to becoming a Jujutsu sorcerer. Maki is an exception because she has a heavenly restriction and, you know, is the best girl in the series. But anyway, Mahito already knew that Junpei had the capability to wield cursed energy. He even said that Junpei has talent because normal Jujutsu sorcerers would have taken more time to grasp how to use this cursed energy. Mahito just helped accelerate this process. So now that we've established that Junpei is capable of becoming a fully fledged Jujutsu sorcerer, we can start talking about his abilities. Now you'd think his main ability would be to summon Shikigami because, well, we saw him summon this jellyfish looking thing. But that's not really the case. In fact, it's actually the only Shikigami that Junpei can summon, and we've been told by Mahito that Junpei's actual curse technique is poison, in which he can produce poison from cursed energy and make his Shikigami secrete it from its tentacles, meaning Junpei can poison people through the use of moondregs, the jellyfish. This is quite interesting because it's mixing two elements of cursed techniques into one, creating a pretty versatile fighting style because Moondreg's tentacles can be used for mid to long range attacks, like we see here in this battle against Yuji, but can also be used to protect Junpei from close range hits by enveloping him. I guess you can think of it like a squishy Susanoo that can be detached. Moving on to his poison, Moondregs is shown to be able to paralyze people and burn their skin, kinda like being stung by an actual jellyfish. This is done either from making contact with Moondreg's tentacles, or by being pierced straight into the target's body. It's not really the strongest type of poison because we still have Choso's blood poison technique that could literally put a special grade 1 sorcerer like Naoya close to death. Even Iso and Kechizu's poisons should be stronger than Junpei's since they have the ability to decay the body. So I think Junpei's poison could be utilized more for support rather than combat. Alright, now for the fun part, comparing Junpei to other users like him. Now I know I said that poison is Junpei's main ability, but he still technically is a Shikigami user since he mainly uses Moondregs to do damage for him. So going with this logic, we can start looking at other Shikigami users introduced in the series. The first and baseline comparison we can make is with this old guy. And no, I didn't forget his name, because he doesn't have one. The only thing we know from him is that he summons Shikigami using talismans. This is actually the most typical method in summoning Shikigami, but funnily enough, he's the only one who does it this way. I don't even think Junpei uses talismans, because we saw in the anime that he tried to use his curse technique on his old high school teacher by doing this weird hand sign. So I'm assuming this is how he summons his Shikigami. Now, truthfully, this old guy is pretty weak. The only time we saw him fight was against Geto, and his Shikigami were only used as a distraction to fight in close combat. I think Junpei could easily take this guy down, since Moondregs could block most of his physical attacks. And once Junpei's paralysis hits this guy, he's pretty much down and out. Because of that, we're gonna put Junpei in grade 3 for now, which is the average rank typical for students. I think grade 4 is too low for him, considering he still has some potential to grow. Now, in talking about becoming grade 2, it gets a bit tricky, because prior to being recommended for grade 1, Megumi was still ranked at grade 2. Now, is Junpei stronger than Megumi? No. Will he ever be as strong as Megumi? No. Does that mean Junpei is just a grade 3 sorcerer then? No. Yes. But I don't really want to give up on this guy just yet. I think we're forgetting the fact that those receiving a grade 2 ranking upon enrollment are already considered geniuses. Obviously, someone like Megumi is going to be considered a genius, but that doesn't mean Junpei is insignificant. It just means he hasn't reached his potential yet. And with that, I think Megumi is someone that Junpei could strive to be if he wants to reach his potential. Despite the fact that Junpei can only summon one Shikigami, while Megumi can potentially summon up to 10, Mahito has stated that with time, Junpei can learn to control the size and strength of his moondregs, as well as the potency of his poison. Now I want to emphasize the aspect of size because, fun fact about real-life jellyfish, they can actually clone themselves if you split them in half, which allows them to regenerate their missing body parts. If we were to apply this to Junpei's moondregs, then it could potentially multiply itself, essentially giving Junpei more fighting power and make him more of a threat. Not to mention the multiple severe burns that the target would receive due to the sheer amount of jellyfish that Junpei would control. So if this multiplying ability was to be possible, I have no doubts that Junpei could become a grade 2 sorcerer, as the baseline for becoming one is to be able to carry out solo missions by themselves. With Junpei's jellyfish clones, I think he could easily take out a room full of grade 3 curses. But I think that there is one fundamental weakness that Junpei and other Shikigami users alike tend to share, and that's the fact that they're weaker at close range. While training Yuji, Gojo has said that when dealing with Shikigami users, the key to defeating them is by going for the user themselves, because once the user is incapacitated, the technique will be dispelled. Now, someone like Megumi already knows this and is already comfortable with fighting at close range. However, Junpei still lacks this ability, and so I think he should work on this if he were to progress further than grade 2. And there you have it. Yoshino Junpei, in my opinion, will start off as a grade 3 sorcerer, but I think he definitely has the potential to be a grade 2. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like and subscribe to see more of my future content. But until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.